Stopwatch. 20 minutes starts right now, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready? In 3, in 2, in 1. 20 minutes. Let it begin, my friends. Today, diving into part 2 of leadership, learning life in leadership. Next week, I want to encourage you, come back, definitely for sure. I know we've been talking really hands-on about straight up leadership, developing teams, equipping teams. Next week, I want to get a little bit more into just life. Some of you might not consider yourself to be a leader right now, but I want to clarify, being a leader doesn't even mean you have a team around you. It doesn't even mean you own a business. Being a leader is a type of personality and character that you want to be. We can all be leaders if we are willing to work hard, develop ourselves to become what it takes to be a leader. But next week, I want to talk about life. I want to get into things every Monday, not just about leadership, but about life, about relationships, how to interact with better people. I want you and I to develop and succeed in our relationships. But here's the reality. You only get better at what you practice. So next week, I'm going to get a little more practical with life. But today, finishing up part 2, the 6 types of leaders. If you haven't already, follow along in the notes that I put in the chat. If you haven't already, there it is. 91 of you here. Awesome to have you here. Leader number 4 of part 2 of our 6 types of leaders, passive leaders. Now, your passive leaders are the kind of leaders that they're chill, they're more laid back, and that can sound okay, but they're so passive to an extent that they're not willing to address what needs to be addressed. I'll be honest, there have been times in my life, because I try to be a very nice, kind, loving person, and very early on in my leadership as a pastor, not even just when I was streaming, but also when I was working in a church before I even started, I had a tendency to be passive. And what do I mean by that? As someone who wants to be really nice, sometimes I can fall into the trap of being a people pleaser, okay? It is super admirable to want to love, respect, and be nice to people, but that does not mean you have to be a people pleaser. And I have had a tendency in the past to do that. It is something that I've addressed and gotten a lot better at, but I have a lot of times fallen into this category. Sometimes your passive leaders, they know that there is an issue going on, but they're not willing to address it because they want to avoid the confrontation. They don't want to bring up, well, that's going to be a hard conversation. Here's the reality. Leaders do what's difficult. It's a part of being a leader that we're willing to do whatever it takes. Why? Because we know that by having those hard conversations, that people can be encouraged, people can be blessed. Sometimes you got to tell people not necessarily what they want to hear, but what they need to hear in a loving and kind manner. But passive leaders, they want to avoid every situation. And the reality is sometimes there's things that do need to be addressed and do need to be corrected and brought to people's attention. Sometimes you find in passive leaders that they'll produce disengaged followers. Craig O'Shell says this, that if you're too passive of a leader, that you're going to develop disengaged followers. What does that mean? Well, if my boss doesn't care, then I don't care. Well, if my small group leader doesn't care, then why should I care? They're kind of disengaged. They don't really care because you don't care. Or maybe you do care, but you're being so passive and kind of tiptoeing around the situation that you're giving off the intent that you don't care. Here's a leadership principle, not in the notes, but everything you do communicates. Everything you do communicates. So doing something communicates, not doing something communicates. So when there's something that needs to be talked about, hey, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. Talking about it communicates, not talking about it communicates. So maybe it's not that you don't care, but by not addressing it gives off the intention. You have communicated to your team by not actually talking about it that you don't care. And it's oftentimes will produce in your team disengagement. Well, I mean, if he doesn't care, if she doesn't care, then you know what? I don't care. And it can oftentimes lead to a lack of trust or even respect of your team, of you. Why? Because they're like, well, hey, there's a huge problem and this guy's not even aware. Like, are you blind to what's kind of going on here? Maybe there's, 2 people that, in your family, 2 people in your team, people in your business, 2 people around you, 2 of your friends that have got some serious beef with each other, and you're not addressing it. And everyone's like, dude, does he not see what's going here? Or is he just blind? Or does he just not realize? And the reality is you might be fully aware, but maybe you're just not comfortable addressing it And I can relate to that 100%. I have had to learn how to deal with confrontation. And sometimes by not addressing it, you leave people kind of thinking, well, are they just not aware? Or again, do they just not care? But then here's the issue. Craig Rochelle says this: I have taken this into my DNA. If there's a problem around you, maybe you're a parent and there's a problem in your family, maybe you're a team leader, there's a problem in your team, whatever it may be. If there is a problem that goes unaddressed for too long, there will reach a point that the problem is no longer the problem. Now you are the problem. And here's why. Because if there's a problem going on, like I said, in your family, your team, your business, it is the leader's job to find a resolution. That's one of the hard parts of leadership. It's your job to find a resolution. But if you avoid it for too long, the problem no longer is the problem. Unfortunately, now we become the problem. Why? Because everyone knows around us there was a problem that wasn't addressed. It never got fixed. And now it's not even the problem's fault. Now it's our fault. Why didn't you do something about it? Why didn't you address it? Why didn't you confront it? Why didn't you make it happen? And it all stems from we were kind of just too passive. Well, I mean, maybe if we just kind of ignored the situation, hopefully it'll just fix itself. Unfortunately, people say all the time heals everything. Time does not heal everything. That is one of the biggest lies, unfortunately, that I've ever believed. Time does not heal everything. It heals some things, but some things need to be addressed. Some things need to be fixed. Some things need to be corrected. And when we're too passive, we let things go by because maybe we're afraid of confrontation. Another quote Craig Rochelle says, incredible: you cannot correct what you can't confront. You cannot correct what you do not confront. You've got to bring it out. You've got to be loving, respectful, kind, but you got to bring it out in the open. Hey guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Hey guys, there's clearly an issue here. Let's bring it up and let's find a way to solve it. As a passive leader, pushing things down deeper is only going to make your issues worse. I've got some tips that are written down for you guys. I took a lot of things, learned from Craig Rochelle, kind of put on my own 2 cents, and those are the notes you'll see before you. I've got one tip for you. You've got to acknowledge and you've got to act, right? There's the double A. You've got to acknowledge and you've got to act. You've got to acknowledge, hey, we've got an issue here. Something's going on, maybe small, maybe big, whatever it may be, but we've got something that we need to acknowledge, and then we've got to act on it. Great friend of mine, Pastor JC, told me something I'll never forget, that it is little holes that sink big ships. You've got these big Titanic-sized ships, and what does it take? Just a few tiny little holes. I mean, just a little bit of water's coming in. Not a big deal. But if they go unfixed for too long, although they were tiny and the ship was huge, eventually, because they went unaddressed, they went unacknowledged. If you never find out those holes are there, eventually they're going to sink your ship. And we need to acknowledge, we got to find these holes, where are the issues, we got to plug them up, but then it's not just enough to know about them. Okay, I know they're there, but then I'm not going to do anything with them. We have to acknowledge, and then we have to act. And here's the thing, sometimes as leaders, we kind of go, well, I don't know the best solution. Here's the reality. An average solution is better than no solution. At times, as leaders, sometimes we're not going to knock it out of the park. Sometimes we're going to find an answer that's going to suit the situation. It's not going to blow anyone's mind. It's not going to have anyone saying that you're the greatest leader of all time, but it's going to fix the problem. An average solution is always better than no solution. Another tip that I've written things down: while you are figuring things out, right? We're trying to find that solution. While you're figuring things out, let the people around you know, hey, I acknowledge this. Hey, I see this and I'm working on it, and it's going to be fixed pretty soon. This is a breath of fresh air for the people around you. It really is. It's a breath of fresh air because now they know, okay, all right, so I'm not the only crazy one. There's stuff happening. And he acknowledges it. He hasn't found a solution yet, but at least he's working on it. Okay. Woo, the elephant's been addressed. The elephant's still there, but at least now I can rest easily. Something's going to be made happening. Remember, everything you do communicates. So if you're not bringing it up, if you're not acknowledging it, you are communicating to your team, either I don't know what's going on, or I don't care enough to fix it. while you're trying to find the best solution, at least let your team know, hey, I'm aware, but I'm working on it. Here's another tip that I've learned to have to do. Have anticipation. Passive leaders do not have anticipation. What do I mean by that? That sometimes you're going to have to start working now to prevent problems in the future. So right now, it's not a problem. Right now, nothing at all. But you know, if this goes unaddressed, in the future, it's going to become a problem. Start anticipating things, not being negative to where like, oh, I've got to always think everything's going to go wrong. But it's your job as a leader to protect culture. It's your job as a leader to make sure that things are going well. So what are you going to do? You're going to say, hey, you know what? I see that thing kind of right there, but if this behavior isn't addressed now, it's only going to get bigger, right? If that little tiny hole isn't plugged up, it's going to sink the whole ship. I've got to bring a solution to this now. Don't wait until a problem gets big. While it's still small, address it. There's a famous quote that I heard that if you don't prepare, then you have to repair. I'm going to say that again. If you do not prepare, then you will have to repair. If you don't try to focus on the front end, okay, we've got some things we need to address, and we've got to find a way to fix this later, then what's going to happen is instead of finding a solution and preparing, what you're going to do is you're going to end up having to do some emergency repairs later. Whether it's your marriage, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends. If you see something, do something. Here's the reality. Passive leaders, they avoid confrontation at all costs. I used to do this. It got me nowhere. It got me nowhere. Got me absolutely nowhere. And this is something I'm not comfortable with confrontation even now, but I've learned that I just have to be able to do it. We don't need to argue. We don't need to yell. We're going to be loving. We're going to be kind. We're going to be respectful, but you cannot correct what you do not confront. Leader number 5, this one is going to have a little bit of a twist, but this is not even our end goal. Leader number 5 out of the 6 leaders we're talking about, healthy leaders. And at first glance, healthy leaders, they sound so great. I mean, that's what I want to be. I want to be a healthy leader. Why? Because healthy leaders produce faithful followers. I mean, let's take every single leader that we've talked about, these negative senses, and they just do the opposite. I mean, domineering leaders, they're just in your face. Do what I said because I'm the boss. They don't trust anyone. No, healthy leaders are the opposite. They impart trust to people. They welcome other people's opinions. It's not my way or the highway. Passive leaders, they're not passive. They're willing to act and acknowledge and do what needs to get done. They're not secretive. They're letting their team in. They're welcoming their trust, and they're saying, you know what? I believe in you. Every single negative leadership style we've talked about, healthy leaders are the opposite. But here's the reality. That's not just the point. Why? Because healthy leaders, what do? They produce faithful followers. Well, Susie, that sounds amazing. I want to be the kind of leader that produces faithful followers. Can I tell you, do not be the kind of leader that produces faithful followers. Healthy leaders are they're completely okay. They're completely okay with just producing great followers and accomplishing their vision. Here's the reality. Every team, they've got a goal. Every family, they have a goal to have a great family, right? They have a great family. Every organization, every team, every church, every whatever it may be, they have a vision. We're going to accomplish this. And healthy leaders are okay with simply developing followers and accomplishing that goal. Leader number 6 goes even a step above. I'm going to tell you that it's okay. It's okay to be a healthy leader. Being a healthy leader is not a bad thing, but being a healthy leader does not accomplish the goal of what a leader really is. Remember, week number 1, what's a leader? Influencing people to become the best that they can be. A healthy leader only produces healthy followers. But number 6, if you're reading the notes, really what we want to strive to be, what I want to strive to be, and I'm getting better at every day, is I don't just want to be a healthy leader. I want to be an empowering leader. Why? Because an empowering leader doesn't just produce healthy followers, they produce healthy leaders. They produce other healthy leaders. An empowering leader does everything a healthy leader does and more. And can I tell you that a healthy leader is simply just the standard? Well, I mean, if you're a healthy leader, you're probably going to get that manager position at your job. If you're a healthy leader, you'll probably lead a good civil family life. If you're a healthy leader, you'll probably maintain and survive through marriage. But here's the reality. I don't just want to survive. I want to thrive. I want my marriage to be very well. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it every day. I want the people around me not just to be followers. I want them to be leaders. I don't just want to have a mediocre family. I want to have a thriving, amazing family to where my children grow up and change the world. I don't just want to raise kids that are just going to have more kids. I want to raise kids that are going to go out and maybe all they want to do is be a stay-at-home mom and raise kids, but they're going to raise kids with the mindset of, I'm not just raising kids, I'm raising world changers. I'm going to make a difference in the world around me. Whatever it is that you do, I want to raise children that are going to make a difference in the world, whether it's on a small or large scale. I do not want mediocrity to be my standard. I want to strive for excellence. Being a healthy leader, in my opinion, is the standard of mediocrity. I want to be an empowering leader because I want to go above the standard. I want to do my best. But what does it look to be an empowering leader? You have to be willing to give responsibility away. Now, this is hard. Why? Because sometimes it's going to require trust. But what do I mean by giving responsibility away? This is what I mean. You're going to have to be willing to delegate. There are things that you know that you can do, but you're going to give it to someone else. You're going to trust someone else to do it. Why? Because when you impart to them that responsibility, you're saying, hey, I trust you. I believe in you. You are yourself, a leader. And I believe that you can do this. Here's one of the tips that I wrote. You have to give other people the ability to say yes. This is the defining difference, in my opinion, between being a follower and being a leader. And here's why. Because being a follower means that you ask permission. Being a leader means that you give permission. This is what I've learned. That a follower, what do they do? Well, okay, we want to do something, but I've got to ask the leader, right? That's a follower. And there are moments that no matter what level of leadership you are, there's going to be someone who's probably above you and you're going to need to ask their authority. But there are certain things where you need to empower those around you and below you and say, you know what? I'm empowering you to say yes. So that when someone comes to you, your response doesn't always need to be, well, I've got to ask X, Y, and Z. You are trusting and empowering people to now say yes. Because remember, followers get permission, leaders give permission. So if you're developing someone who always needs to get permission, then you're developing a follower. But if you're developing someone that you've allowed them to say yes to certain things, so for example, our executive director, G.S. Blade, if he only has the authority to say, I'll ask Pastor Susie and get back to you, I have not developed a leader. I have developed a follower. He's my follower. He does exactly what I tell him. But I have empowered him to say, you know what, there's certain things, Blade, but I trust you, man. You know the culture, you know the vision, you believe it, and I'm going to empower you to say yes. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, can we da-da-da-da-da-da? Yes, you can. I have been given authority to say yes. Followers need to get permission. Leaders give permission. But this is hard. And how do we develop people that you can trust enough to give them that permission? Because that's scary, right? I've got people that I'm saying, hey, you can say yes. What if they say yes to the worst thing on the planet? What if they say yes to something that's going to single-handedly destroy everything that we've built? What if they say yes to something that's single-handedly going to blow everything out of the water? Here's what Craig Rochelle says, how to develop people that way. I love it. You need to create in people an ownership mindset. And I think that this is key because an owner is different than anything else. Let me give you an example. If you walk into a restaurant and you look at the waiter, they're doing their job, they're waiting tables, they're cleaning whatever they can. But then if you see that person off in the distance, I mean, they're looking at the little details. Hey, they're making sure the salt and pepper are in the right place. They're running into the kitchen. They're making sure their chefs are they're up to line. They're going to the front, make sure the people sitting, they are making sure, hey, you guys accommodated, you guys feeling good? I mean, they are taking everything under their own responsibility. Why? Because they care about the vision. You know, when you see that person running around, looking around, just not looking around frantic, crazy, like there's no other people working, but just concerned for everything. They've got a genuine passion. I hope things are really, really going well. That person, who are they? They're normally the owner. Why? Because they love everything they're doing. They love everything they're doing. and developing an ownership mindset in your people. Hey, I want you to own this thing. I want you to learn and believe in the vision so much that when people come to you the vision, you're able to recite it, you're able to believe it and able to give it to them so clearly, and you believe it so much that it's almost as if it was your vision. If you can find people that believe in this vision and you can develop them in that ownership mindset, then it's easy for you to give them the ability to say yes, because you know that they will never do anything that will harm whatever your vision is. They're never going to do it. Unworthy Seraph, just the other day, last week, I believe. I try to be very respectful of Unworthy Seraph's time. He's our media and graphics designer here at God Squad Church. He does all of our graphics, does a phenomenal job, but I do not want to treat him as my slave. So if there's something that I made a mistake on, and church is starting in 35 minutes, and I go, oh my goodness, Seraph, I completely forgot. I need you to make this for me right now, and I need you to make it right. I try to be very careful with that. Because if I drop the ball, then sometimes I need to face the consequences. Hey, this isn't ready because I blew it. I dropped the ball. And there are times where right before my sermon, because I normally try to keep myself to a deadline, everything that needs to be ready by Saturday, I have to send to Unworthy Seraph Friday at 1 p.m. Before my stream starts, that's the deadline. So that I'm not forcing him to be in a position where he's scrounging last minute to make sure everything's done. That's not fair for me to do to him. So what I do is I try to get him that. And I think 2-3 weeks ago, there was something that I didn't get to him in time. And literally 30 minutes before church starts. Oh my goodness. Can't believe if I got that. It was a small graphic. It was the title for my sermon. I never sent him the title of my sermon because I was still working on it. And I was like, dude, I'm stuck in this sermon. I'll send it to you at least by tonight on Friday. Never sent it to him. Just dropped the ball. Just forgot. Made a mistake, but I'm not going to make excuses. And he texted me the next day. So I ended up making the graphic myself 20 minutes before church started. He texts me a few days later. He's like, hey man, I really appreciate you being so respectful of my time and not forcing me to do something last minute. But dude, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. And although, yeah, it's going to put me in kind of a crappy situation that I got to scrounge something up last minute, although I've got other responsibilities that I need to be doing before church starts, but I don't want you to make the graphic. Why? Because I want the graphic to be made to the best of its ability, and I want to free you up so you can do your job preaching the best way that you can. The best way that you can. He said, yeah, I would obviously prefer it by Friday at 1 p.m., but whatever you need, I want the graphic to be made its best. And he didn't say it in a mean way. We've acknowledged this. He makes better graphics than I. That's why he's our graphic guy. So he's like, so if you need it, you send it to me. You need it and you send it to me, and I will get it done no matter when. That is an ownership mindset. Why? Because Unworthy Seraph is not okay with seeing decent graphics on the screen. He's not okay with seeing mediocrity. He wants the best. And if we're going to have the best, he knows it's going to have to be made by him. He has an ownership mindset. I want the best no matter what it takes. I got to see the best. I got to have it. I got to have it. If we can develop this mindset in people, this is a win. Remember, out of all 6 of these leaders, what do we want to be? We don't just want to be healthy. We want to be empowering. We want to help others become the best version of themselves. Real quick, wrapping up. I know that I'm already a minute over my time. How do we become an empowering leader? I've kind of broken it down into 4 steps for you. If you want to become an empowering leader first, you have to lead yourself first. What disciplines in your own life are working? Are you developing your own integrity? Developing your own character? Are you developing your own skills, right? Are you trying to rid laziness of your life? Are you showing your team that you're someone who's worth following? Leaders don't need a title. Leaders are other people that people want to follow. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter who you are. You don't need a title. Doesn't need to be a job. Leader is not something that you do. It's something that you are. Are you someone who's worth following? And maybe right now the answer is no. So here do we do. We keep on growing. We keep on working towards it. First, leaders, you lead yourself first. Then you're leading followers. But that's not the final goal. Then you're leading leaders. We talked about this. Healthy leaders produce followers. Empowering leaders produce leaders. Then the final step, you're leading teams of leaders who are leading other leaders. This point is somewhere where we are just beginning to hit here at God Squad Church. So I'm leading a team of 5 incredible men and women on a Tuesday morning who are leaders of their own departments and their own teams. And what are they doing? They have their own, not just followers, but their own leaders of different groups, prayer teams, different things. My wife is the team of the Mod Squad. Within the Mod Squad, we've got devotional teams, we've got prayer teams. So we're leading teams of teams, and we are just beginning to get there. And it is beautiful, beautiful to watch. I love it. I'm humbled. God's been good to our community. If you're looking to get involved in any of those teams, click on that link in the chat as well. But I also want you to look. I've got some discussion questions for you to really think about yourself. I hope you took to heart the questions from last week and have actually asked the people around you. I did this. I asked people, how can I get better? It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but it was what I needed to hear, and it helped me so much. 4 discussion questions. If you don't have access to the notes, I will actually put these questions in the chat for you to read. Question number 1, look at all 6 of these leader types. What kind of leader am I right now? Am I domineering? Am I secretive? Am I passive? Whatever it may be. Am I healthy? Whatever it may be. What kind of leader am I right now? Second question, do I find myself to be a passive leader and avoiding confrontation? I have a tendency to do this. I've gotten a lot better at it. At first, I hated it. Now I've just learned that unfortunately it's just something that needs to happen. Question number 3, how can I learn to trust and empower others with the ability to say yes? Fourth question, do I genuinely have a desire to empower other people to become the best versions of themselves? This final question is really going to help you analyze your own heart and help see if you are the difference between a healthy leader and an empowering leader. Because again, healthy leaders, they only want to develop followers, but empowering leaders want to develop leaders. Guys, I'm 5 minutes over again, man. I have a problem. Pray for me. Guys, pray for me. I'm 5 minutes over. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here for our Learning Life and Leadership. You guys are incredible. Again, like I said, every single Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Hope you guys are blessed. I want to do my best to, like I said, not be a game developer, but being a gamer developer. I want to do my best to empower you so you can be the best version of yourself to make a world around you. I love you so much. You guys are